What's good, YouTube? Mario Devon back with yet another video. I hadn't done a I'm very disappointing, I know. I haven't done one of these in a long time, but I figured, hey man, if I'm gonna come back strong, and I'm gonna hit you with a heavier hitter. These two cameras in front of me. This is the Canon R5, and this was my first mirrorless camera that could shoot 10-bit 422 internally. I've owned it for about 3 years, okay, so, but I don't use this camera much, and the reason why is because of this camera. This is the Sony a7 IV. I've owned this camera for almost 2 years, a little bit over a year and a half. And again, I haven't really used this Canon R5 ever since I bought this camera. Spoiler alert, I'm selling the Canon R5. Now, before I sell it, okay, before y'all get upset with me in the comments, okay, I'm going to explain why I'm selling it. And we're gonna do it in a way where we review these cameras together. Sadly, I've never given you a video, reviewing this Sony a7 IV, not yet. I have that coming. And I never gave you a video really giving you the overall review of the Canon R5 because I'm a sucky YouTuber. So let's give you the breakdown. Here we go. The Canon R5. Okay, this, when I bought it, was $38.99, almost $4,000. I think you can get it now for closer to $3,400, like $33.99 specifically. You know the thing. It comes with a 45 megapixel sensor that is actually an 8K sensor when we're talking about video, and it shoots up to 8K 30p in RAW. But the main thing we want from this camera was always the 4K 120. Of course, it shoots in 10-bit 422 C-Log 3, and that's the problem. That's the problem with this. Now we're looking at the a7 IV. This camera, when I bought it, was about $2,500. You can actually get this thing for closer to $2,000 body only right now. This here is packing a powerful 33 megapixel. They call that the sweet spot. Y'all hear it all the time on the YouTubes. But it shoots up to 4K 60, and it has that Super 35 crop. Again, 10-bit 422, and it shoots in all the formats that you needed to shoot in, as far as like S-Hog3, S-Hog2, S-Cinetone. And at this point, S-Hog3 is like famous. It's like a celebrity in these streets. Overall, both cameras are extremely capable. If you're looking for a camera that just shoots really good looking footage, you don't really care about all the nuances and all the technical crap that we like, that we just fiend over and we slobber over. You just want to make sure you get a camera that looks good. They both deliver. But my question to you, all right, look at me, you. Is the Canon R5, okay, the $1,300 better than the a7 IV from an image quality perspective? Now, I'm not gonna keep you waiting, okay? They both shoot 4K 10-bit 422. But do they? Do they? I mean, they do, but do they? And the reason why I'm saying that is because Canon will not give us C-Log 2. This thing shoots C-Log 3. And the only way you can get to C-Log 2 is if you shoot the 8K RAW. You can't even shoot 4K RAW in this. These are all just, to me, just simple firmware updates. We're going to get to that point, but I'm just getting frustrated thinking about it. I don't think Canon understands if they put C-Log 2 in this camera even 3 years later, 4 years later, 6 years later, I think could compete because of it having that sharp 4K sensor shooting in all the frame rates. If it just shot C-Log 2, my goodness, I think they would sell these things ridiculously. And we wouldn't see this emergence of so many people moving from Canon to Sony, including myself, Yes, it shoots a full frame 4K 120. It shoots 4K 60. It's all gravy, okay? Beautiful image. But it doesn't really matter if I can't really control it and if I can't match it with other cameras. You gotta understand, when we're working on these jobs now, you never know what's gonna be around. You're gonna ask people beforehand, but a lot of us, we're gonna be using multiple camera systems or multiple cameras, but we all need to be able to make them match in post. This camera really makes it very difficult to do that. Also, I own the Canon R5 and the Canon R6, all right, at the same time. They both had very different color sizes. And because of that, C-Log 3, it was always hard to make them match perfectly together, okay? You can make them match as closely as you could, but the way it rendered, those greens and magentas, those shifts, yeah, you can do a quick white balance shift, but when you're using C-Log 3, it doesn't work the same. It's not, you don't have the same flexibility in the curves and just really dialing in specific colors in your footage. You don't get that from C-Log 3. Now to this A7 IV, $2,500, okay? But it shoots S-Log3, just like the expensive cameras like I'm shooting on right now. Right now on this camera, this is the Sony FX3, and behind me I have the Sony FX6. On this camera here, believe it or not, and I have to do a full review on this one, I have the Sony A7CR. All right, they're all shooting S-Log3. Okay, I'm shooting S-Log3 in this, that back there. All right, everything can be easily matched together. And to me, of course, with this camera, I don't use 4K 120 all the time. The only caveat with this camera is the 4K 60 crop, that Super 35 crop. But guess what? Most of the time, if I'm shooting, I'm probably gonna have a zoom lens like a 24-70, like a 17-28 Tamron that I love to use. Right now on this A7CR, I'm actually using the 20-40 millimeter from Tamron. And when we're trying to weigh it out, okay, so the caveats, okay, this has that C-Log3. This is a big caveat to me. To me, this is like an unforgivable caveat. I can work around 4K 60 crops. I can't really work around having C-Log3 instead of C-Log2. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't use 4K 120 every day. I just don't. So I don't need that. I use S-Log3 every day. I don't care if I'm shooting BTS footage. I don't care if I'm shooting footage of my face. I don't care if I'm shooting footage of bugs going across the street. I'm using S-Log3 so I can be able to color grade it. People were vocalizing their gripes with the Canon R5 because matching it with the C70 wasn't as easy as you would think it would be, considering it's the same Canon camera system. It is such a shame that they didn't put C-Log2 in the R5C. Such a shame. Why give it a cinema body? You give it all of the cinema features. You even give it a cinema menu system, but you don't give it the cinema log curve. That doesn't really make sense to me. In video, when it comes to autofocus, these are pretty much neck and neck. When it comes to, you know, even the overheating, that's pretty much a wash for me. And the reason why is because I really don't experience overheating. I haven't on either of these cameras, maybe one or two times, but like my camera's never shut off because of overheating. Now let's move into the other important aspect of shooting anything with the camera, and that's going to be photography. Okay, so obviously the Canon R5, you know, has a 45 megapixel sensor. This here A7 IV, Sony A7 IV has a 33 megapixel sensor, but they are very comparable. You're gonna see some behind the scenes footage of me and a couple of my friends. One is gonna be Lauren and another one of my friend Yulia. And I'm using both cameras, okay, the Canon R5 and I'm using my Sony A7 IV, okay. Love the photos, okay. I'm using kind of different lenses, so just, you know, be on the lookout for that. But even in that, I want you to just look at the pictures. They are very comparable, extremely comparable when you see it. So I'm just saying, like, yeah, this has a 45 megapixel sensor, this has a 33, but is it really a $1,300 difference? Let's quickly talk about the RAW files. I have noticed that I'm able to push the Sony RAW files more, and I know that sounds crazy. Some people will tell you that. I know even Manny Ortiz has said that, and I have noticed. I literally noticed it when I didn't have my A7 III years ago, and I was specifically Canon R5 and R6. When I would pick up my A7 III just on the fly, I would literally notice, like, oh wow, I'm able to recover more in those highlights and shadows with this Sony A7 III. So the same applies a lot to the Sony A7 IV in comparison to my Canon R5. I have noticed it. Again, I've had extensive use of using, you know, my first camera years ago was a 5D Mark II. A 5D Mark III was next, and then I went to the EOS R, the OG mirrorless camera. So I've had extensive use of playing with a lot of the RAW files, okay, from Canon and Sony, but way more experience with Canon. And I can tell you that the Sony, I'm able to push the RAW files a little bit more. Again, while I'm discussing this, you're gonna see BTS footage, and that BTS footage is crazy enough, it's coming from the A7 IV, this A7 IV, and you're gonna see the grade. I'm gonna grade the footage, show you the before and after, but throughout this, you're gonna see photos example of those shoots also. Now let's talk about where the Canon absolutely wins. The noticeable difference is going to be speed. The mechanical and the silent sensor, as far as like speed, is how many frames you can shoot. I think the Sony is like up to 10 frames, but the Canon, if you're shooting just regular mechanical, is 10, and if you're shooting electronically, it is incredible, 20. Okay, it shoots 20 frames per second, you know, easily, you know, silent, and I'm telling you, it is really good. I will say, when I use this camera, I do miss being able to shoot really fast, especially when I'm shooting fitness. But I will say there's not a shot that I haven't gotten with this A7 IV. This definitely has a better processor than the A7 IV, but it better have a better processor considering it is $1,300 more. That's where the money goes, okay? But again, is that $1,300 difference worth it? Last category is going to be lenses, and we're going to be really quick about this, and the only explanation is lenses. I think I made my point. Okay, all right, I'm not gonna just cop out like that. You know what I mean, okay? Because Canon, only gives you this adapter that's attached to this for EF lenses. I have used old EF lenses and I've used new RF lenses. I've used old EF lenses on my Sony A7 IV. You all know I have a video talking about my Sigma EF lenses. And man, I've been using these G Master lenses. Right now I'm shooting on a G Master here. I'm shooting on a more modern lens here, that Tamron 20-40. I've been using these modern lenses. The RF mount, Canon has just put a stronghold on, third-party lenses. There are no third-party lenses, that are being made, all right? So all these new lenses that are coming out is going to be either E mount, L mount, or PL mount for these cinema lenses, just like some of that Catazoom from DZO or that Vespik Prime or the new Nisi cinema lenses. So it's incredible what is going on, but you can't get Canon involved with the new lenses that are coming out, the new lens systems, unless you are a Canon customer buying the new L lenses from Canon, and they are so expensive. There are no competitors like on the Sony. With the Sony, I prefer G Masters. I have a G Master 35. I also have a G Master 50. All right, I love them, but I also loved having the option of not having to spend $1,800 on a 85 prime. So I have the Sigma 85 prime. I love the option of being able to buy something like the 20-40 instead of the Sony 16-35. I'm just saying, I love the lens option that you get in the Sony system. But overall, both of these cameras are incredible tools. They're both incredible. I've had good times with both of them. Great memories, all right? It's been very sentimental for me. So it is very, emotional for me to sell this and let it go. But, I just has to go because I never use it. It's just sitting here, just existing. But it is so hard for me to go, back to C-Log 3. I didn't even know. I had no idea how much contrast was still in C-Log 3 until I, bought my Z-Cam, E2 S6. The Z-Log was very flat. Then I used something like the footage from the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. It was flat, okay? The log was flat. Then eventually I got my hands on some C-Log 2 footage and I was like, oh wow, it is a big difference between the log curves. And last thing I'll say, again, $1,300 difference. These cameras aren't perfect. All right, it's just not a perfect camera, but these cameras have evident flaws. And this one has that flaw of just having that 4K 60 crop, and this one just has a flaw that I just cannot overlook, and that is that lack of C-Log 2. Either way, I hope you got some value from this video. I hope this gives you a glimpse of some of the things I'm going to show you with this Sony A7 IV and also with this Sony A7CR that's over here that I got to really just show you. It's crazy. Like I'm so blessed and I'm so excited to be able to do this with you all and just try to teach you all some things. So please, if you want to see more, comment, subscribe to the channel, and I will be back to give you some more. Trust me, I got a lot of new stuff and a lot of old stuff that you hadn't seen yet that I want to show you. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. I love y'all. Dominate.